Welcome to the Behind the Spine podcast, where we go beyond the cover and into the heart of every story. I'm La'Toya Guillory, certified master mindset and author coach, and founder of The Intentional Author. This space is for writers, authors, and creatives who are ready to move past fear, self-doubt, and perfectionism and step fully into their purpose. Here we talk about the real journey of writing and publishing, the mindset, the discipline, the lessons, the breakthroughs, and the stories that don't always make it onto the page. Each episode brings you honest conversations, practical strategies, and powerful encouragement to help you write with intention and publish with confidence. Show up boldly as the author you were created to be. So grab your notebook, your favorite drink, and a quiet moment for yourself. Let's go behind the spine and into the story.
Sonya Tsouras Antoine is a licensed professional counselor, educator, speaker, and author whose life work is centered on helping people heal, rediscover their identity, and embrace their worth. As the founder of Positively Affirmed Therapeutic Services, she empowers individuals through counseling, mental health education, and community wellness initiatives that inspire resilience and personal growth. Her 10-week affirmation journal, I Am, Define Who You Are, was born from her belief that the words we speak over ourselves have the power to shape our healing and transformation over our lives. Through critical reflection, intentional affirmations, and honest self-discovery, Sonya encourages readers to move beyond self-doubt and define themselves by purpose rather than whether serving clients, speaking to audiences, or writing. Her mission remains the same: to remind every person that healing begins with what you choose to believe about yourself. Hey everyone, it's me, La'Toya Guillory, your host of the Behind the Spine podcast. I have the pleasure of introducing to you Sonya Tsouras Antoine. She is the author of I Am, Define Who You Are. Hi Sonya, how are you today?
Hi, Latoya. I am good. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you for blessing us with your grace and your service and being here, allowing us to get to know you a little bit better. We appreciate you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, when did you first realize you wanted to be an author?
Huh. You know, I can't say that I ever had the thought of being an author. I journaled a lot in my teenage years and probably sat it down closer to my early 20s. But journaling was my thing. Journaling was my escape. Like I would write poetry. And as I got older, of course, is when I learned that what I was actually doing was journaling. And the whole becoming an author idea came about when the visionary author of The Reset Journey from Surviving to Thriving anthology, Miss Jakithia Prejean, um, had this beautiful idea of creating this anthology, and I was selected to be one of the co-authors. And going through that process, I really just fell into it and enjoyed it to the point to where I was just, just writing. And so once that book was published and released, she was like, "Okay, so when you gonna do your next one? When are you gonna do that journal you told me about?" And that kind of started the idea of the I Am, Define Who You Are, and it's a 10-week positive affirmation journal that's filled with pages for you to journal. It starts with today, I positively affirm, but there's also a cute little positive affirmation um, after every eighth page that you can reflect on and sit with, depending on where you are, and just to get that uplift that we sometimes need in our days, to keep us going.
Affirmations are so essential. I wish that maybe one day somebody will come up with a way to be able to like listen to a journal full of positive affirmations. You know what I mean? That's engaging, right? Not just like words, like somebody repeating words, whatever, whatever, but
Right.
something engaging that just speaks to you because, when you go throughout the day, like, you hear this phrase nowadays that life be life and or whatever. There's things that happen that are unexpected, throughout our days, and having those affirmations are so essential, but a lot of the times we can't get to them like when we want to get to them, but being able to listen to positive affirmations like a podcast or something like that, I think that would be amazing. Hint, hint,
Hmm.
for that next one.
Um,
Uh, where of your journey would you say challenged you the most?
Um, I think putting myself, out there as an author. I think it was easy for me with the reset because I was a part of this team, and
Mhm.
we were a family. We were connected, and this time it was a solo adventure.
Mhm.
And so, there were some days where I would just sit it down, and then if we're being honest, I sat it down for a couple of months. And again, you'll probably hear me speak about her a lot during our time together, but Jakithia was really the push,
Mhm.
behind me doing it. And, I have this way of really sitting in my stuff when she's behind me because she's not letting up, and
Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
not gonna let that fire die. She just continued to encourage me. And, if I had questions or if I was, feeling unmotivated, I would tap in and she would give me some word of inspiration, prayer. She would pray with me. And, I think the last part of it was before it actually got published in all things. She was like, "Okay, what's the date? We need to
Mhm.
set a date." And after that, it was like, I don't have no choice, right?
Yeah.
Because if I let her down, I'm letting myself down. So no, I don't want to let myself down, and I definitely don't want to let her down. And there's somebody out here that needs it, because at the end of the day, the message behind the "I am define who you are" is that's my signature, phrase, because we get to define who we are. And if we understand it from a spiritual biblical perspective, there's power in "I am."
Yeah.
And so if you're having a bad day, you just sit in for however long as you need to sit in it, but then you find that affirmation that's going to speak to you, that's going to make you want to get up and continue to push. I am strong, I am powerful, I am capable, I am worthy, all of those
Yeah.
things. And so yeah, kind of how it all came to be, even with the, mm, unsettling feelings.
You're not by yourself. I can tell you that, because I've worked with countless authors and, even being one myself, writing 6
Mhm.
books, that there's a space that I allow anybody that I work with to have those moments because it means that you're in the right place,
Mm. Mhm.
right? Because what your words are going to say are important. And I always tell people, you never know how many people you're going to impact just from them reading your works.
Right.
Just from them reading your works. You'll never know, right? Not a lot of people will go inside of a church. Not a lot of people will go to a conference, right? The people that need to be impacted are going to be impacted by your writing. But it's a scary place to be because imposter syndrome sets in right at the cusp when you say, oh my God, I'm about to put this out into the world. Am I good enough? Can I do this? Am I a writer? And the answer is absolutely. Because when you're feeling those things, that means you're right where you're supposed to be.
Right.
Because at that point, I'm a God girl. So, it is what it is. Like I always tell y'all, it is what it is. Like I'm going to talk about God and scripture and all that kind of stuff. But at that moment, that allows God to take it and say, I got you.
Yes.
And in that moment, he became your I am. Because in that sense, I am is anything we need him to be in every moment.
Absolutely.
And so I'm just excited that you were able to push through
Mm-hmm.
and get it going because listen, your words are needed. There's somebody that's going to pick this thing up years from now and you will never know, but it touched their heart and it changed their life.
Yeah.
And a lot of people read just for that thing because they want to change their life. They want to be changed. And so that is the importance of the power of our words.
Yes. Absolutely.
hmm
Absolutely.
So I thank you for pushing through. What did this process reveal about you? What did you learn about yourself?
Mm. Um. Whew. A
Mhm.
lot. Um. But I think the biggest thing was that I can do whatever I set my mind to do, even with the hiccups, even when I didn't feel like it, even though it sat for, a few months, and it reminded me of the scripture that I can do all
Oh,
things, right? And of course I didn't phrase it the way, that we know it is written, but that's what I had to keep telling my things, and with that alignment with the um Bible verse, you know,
hmm
it reminded me that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, because he is, I am.
hmm
And this was and is and will forever be my signature phrase because of the the premise that I have laid out for my private practice. It's positively affirmed therapeutic services. And if you look closely, you'll see the I am is accented, but a lot of
hmm
people don't see that. A lot of people don't get it. Um,
Yeah.
and I remember Judge Edwards, may I
hmm
rest his soul. We were at a TBRI training together, and I had heard of him, and he was in the room, and I was excited to meet him. And on a break, I got to meet him, and I gave him a business card, and we talked for a few minutes. And then on the next break, he came up to me and he said, I love your business name. He said, I see the I am. I was like, oh my God, like a little kid. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, you noticed. I was like, nah. He said, yes, I noticed. And that has like stuck with me because not many people notice it.
Yeah. So let's talk about that for a little bit. So we didn't introduce what you do, but what you do is so important. And so I do want to highlight that. So tell them a little about what you do. Tell us about your counseling firm and all of that.
So, I am a licensed professional counselor. I am nationally certified. I hold several certifications. I'm also TBRI trained and a TBRI practitioner. Um, I focus on anxiety, depression, life transitions. Um, Majority of my work that I do is centered around young girls and women, but I have a heart for the youth and
Hmm.
college students and college student athletes. And so, when it comes to the youth, um, twice a year, I offer a free youth mental health summit. And that's my way of giving back, pouring back into the youth because they're our future and their mental health
Hmm.
matters. And we know in this day and age that their mental health is not always, um, what's the word I want to use? Managed appropriately. They don't always have the tools, the skills, the support,
Yeah,
et cetera, to help them to manage those hard spaces in their lives, those hard emotions, um,
yeah,
those hard relationships or what they may perceive as such. And so myself and a group of clinicians, we get together on a Saturday and we just pour back into these babies because they're our future and their mental health matters. And what better way to give back than to
yeah.
give from the place that I sit in as a professional. Because to that point too, not everyone, not every family is capable or have the means of paying, for the service that I provide. Some of them may have insurance, some of them may not, but it's a free event. And so we want them to come out and get what we have to offer. Because again, they matter. And then on the other side of that, I am a mom of three. And, I have my oldest who has gone on to college. She's graduated. She's a pastry chef now. And so having to, help her navigate college life and be there to support through those challenging times, classes,
Mhm.
relationships with professors, boyfriends, whatever. And then, I have my middle son who is a college student athlete. And, when we look at that, it's like, oh, well, they should be good. No, they're not always good because not only are they trying to manage it on the academic side, they're also trying to manage it on the athletic side. And so they need that support. And so even before my son went off to college and had the opportunity to participate on the track and field team at his university, I was in that space pouring back
Yeah.
to the college student athletes, and you'd be surprised how many of them, are dealing with whatever, and just having that level of support, how meaningful that is to them to have someone come in and just hold space for them. And then my little one, he's, middle school, and my God, middle school, it does not look like what it looked like when we were there. It looks so different for so many different reasons,
Yeah.
so helping him to navigate that space. And so, it's like a triangle for me, but the connections happen in all the spaces and the places. And so, I've just been, in different spaces, functioning in different capacities. I've also
Mhm.
done some geriatric work in this space, and I did not know until I was in it that I was going to absolutely love holding space and providing services to that population. And my senior women that I've spent time with, this has been a journey that I did not know I was going to be on until I was in it.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love all of it because it has allowed me to, not only be that licensed professional, but to just be amongst the community, and to be a safe space for these students and these college students and these college student athletes in a way that I never could have dreamed or even imagined.
I love that. So it almost sounds like this book, I Am, Define Who You Are, your life's work is that. What would you say this book means to you?
Mm. Ooh, wow. It's it's empowerment. It's empowerment because I I was obedient
Hmm.
to what was on the inside of me. And even with all the hiccups, even with the struggles, and I still remained committed to getting it out
Yeah.
to others. And when I think about it, I always reflect on the last page of the book. I wrote a note to the readers, and it says, positive affirmations can breathe life into your day. Don't let your negative thoughts, feelings, and emotions define or control you. I hope this positive affirmation journal serves as a reminder of who you are and who you can be. Remember to positively affirm yourself daily because you get to define who you are. With love, Sonya Tsouras. And at the bottom, it has a positive affirmation that says, I am made to win.
Mhm. I love that. I love that so much. So we're going to kind of switch gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about the process for you, right? You self-published.
Mhm.
Who did you self-publish through? And why did you choose those platforms or that platform?
Um, who?
Hmm.
So that was a hard one. Like I went back and forth. Um, you know, I ended up working with someone that was referred to me to get all things, in order and aligned. Um, and then once it happened, I decided to go with Amazon. Um, and the process was fairly easy. There were a few hiccups and I had to, pause a few times and reset. But it out of all the research I had done, it was the easiest for
Hmm.
me to go with them. Just because I knew once it was out, um there wasn't a whole lot I was gonna need to do.
Yeah.
Like my work was done.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So how are you marketing your book now?
So, Imma be honest with you, Latoya, I have not been very kind to myself or my journal, just because of all things, that, I have myself sitting in. But, it's on my Facebook, on Instagram, of course, it's on Amazon, but I really need to do a better job at getting it out there. Of course, when I'm out in the public doing community events, it's on the table, people are aware of it, um, but I have to do a better job.
We're gonna talk a little bit later. I'm gonna give you some advice. I'll give
Awesome.
you some tips.
I love it.
Something real easy for you.
Okay.
Something real easy.
That.
So, how has becoming a self-published author? Because you can go traditional. Some people choose a traditional route. I think traditional route is the harder route. I don't ever tell you, you know, not to go the traditional route. But for me, at least, I want you to own your own assets. I want you to have your own intellectual property. I even tell people don't get the free ISBN number. Do not get the free ISBN number because then you don't have as much leeway to do what you need to do with it when you get the free ISBN number with KDP or Ingram Spark or any other place. So the traditional route is so much harder than the self-published route. What would you say, or how would you say being a self-published or self-published author has shaped your life?
Hmm. That's a good question. That's a good question. And I don't think that I've sat with that. Um and that's probably because it was get this done and then move on to what's next.
Mm-hmm.
So I never sat in that question. I never sat with that to be able to give you a proper answer to that question. That's something I need to reflect on.
Would you say it's given you a renewed sense of purpose?
Hmm. That's possible. That's possible.
If
It
I were,
does. I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
It does hmm, remind me that I can do all things with purpose and intention.
Mhm. I like that word intention. Because when we get clear about where we're going, the more intentional the journey becomes,
Mhm.
which allows us to walk the path that we're supposed to walk without distraction.
Mm. Mhm.
Just a little, just had to get that out there. Okay, so I'm your ideal reader. What characteristics should I have when I pick up this book? Or who is your ideal reader?
Honestly, look, I'm gonna be honest with you. Um, whether it's a teenage girl, boy, 50-year-old male, female, I think it's fitting
Mhm.
for anyone who has a desire to journal, one, or just get their thoughts out, um, and or open to really allowing the flow of positive affirmations, in their lives. Um, my brother-in-law is a truck driver, and this journal sits on his seat of his truck. And there are days where he will message me to say, he's in the journal, and he has actually had some of his trucker friends um ask him about the journal, and so one day he called me and he was like, I'm gonna have to get some journals to take on the road with me, you know, and I'm like, I love it. I love it. So it speaks to the person, if they are truly on a journey of embracing positive affirmations and getting clear or defining who they are.
Okay, I'm getting some downloads, okay? Because as I'm listening to you, I see I am looking at me from your background.
I am resilient.
I am. But all I see really that stands out is the word I am, which is what this book is about. And okay, I'm gonna go on my little tangent for a second. Just, take me as I am. Uh, but it's almost as if this book is taking on the characteristics of that word based off of who God is in that word, right? So the I am is everything that I needed to be in every moment. And so when that book is on the seat of your brother's truck, your brother-in-law's truck, that spirit of I am is everything he needs them to be in that. It's almost as if like the characteristics of God are just like so within that book that it's transforming whoever, right? I need to bring books with me on this truck drive, you know. Like it's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. So, when you said I haven't been kind, you know, with the marketing process of my book, like it's doing what it's supposed to do.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like you may not be doing a lot of the work, but God is picking up where you left off
Mm.
and he's doing it for you. He is BIM. Everything you need him to be in the moment as well,
Mm. Yes.
you know? And so I say that to say, even though you feel like I'm not, kind to myself, I'm not doing what I need to do with it, like it's still changing lives regardless of if you post about it on Instagram or any other social account, if you do email marketing, if you do, yes, marketing is good and you want it to reach the people that it needs to reach,
Right.
but it's also reaching the people that it needs to reach in the moment, right?
Right.
It
Absolutely.
with the intention of I'm going to speak to him about this situation right now because he needs it right now. I'm going to speak to them right now just by picking up the book that's available. So it's still in Idaho and wherever he's at
Yeah.
doing the work.
Right. Right.
All right, I'm off my, I have my moments sometimes.
No, good. It's good.
So what
Uh,
do you hope readers walk away with when they read this book?
uh, um, strength. Um, knowing that they are able to shape
Mm,
the way they navigate through a certain situation, or they see a certain situation, or if they're forward thinking, forward casting, how they want to see, right? So I just have to share this. I feel like I'm being led to share this. I went to a women's conference. My daughter's 26 now, so she had to have been 13. So, 13 years ago.
yeah.
Um, And we were sitting in the room, and I remember the main speaker of that event tasking the women in the audience to write down 25 positive affirmations. Okay.
Wow.
Ask me how many I wrote.
I think I've heard this story. I think you've told me this story once before. 3?
It was
Was it
5.
3? It's 5.
It was 5. But I remember just writing my 5 and being proud of my 5. And thinking to myself as I lifted my head up and I looked around the room, like, people are still writing,
Mm,
but I'm not still writing. And so I went home with it heavy on my heart and my mind to finish that assignment. So I wrote 25. And it stayed on my heart and my mind to the point where I just started creating by using like posters, my
mhm.
positive affirmations. And I went from 25 to 50. And then before you know it, months had passed and I was up to 300. So that's probably where that 3 came from. And that poster, I filled it up, and so then I got a new poster, and then I started using my phone, my notes, and just putting affirmations in my phone, and I know I maxed out my note field because I had so many to the point where I literally stopped counting because I have that many. And so anytime I want to, just sit in it, in my affirmations, I'll go because I still have that poster. I still have all of them on my phone and I've created new ones along the way. In my office now, it's positive affirmations of the day.
Love it.
I live by them. I wear my I am define who you are shirts and sweatshirts, because I really live and breathe this because I've seen the power of I am in my life. There were things
Yeah.
that I was believing for forward casting that have come to pass because it was on my positive affirmation board, alongside the I am worthy, I am powerful, I am flourishing, I am beautiful, I am the head and not the tail. There was a time, La'Toya, where there was a word, I would see a word and I would pop I am in front of it and I would drop it in my notes. I am thriving. It was crazy. For a moment, it was like I was addicted to positive affirmations. So yeah, I mean that's the story behind it, and so whenever it was time to decide upon a business name, Positively Affirmed was always there. And I threw it out to my family and they came up with other names, but it was like so pressed. And I was like, no. And so when I finally got with the graphic designer, um, and the marketing person, and she was, doing her thing, and I kept sending it back because I was like, no,
Mm,
I need, and then finally when I told her, I said, I need the I am to be accented.
yeah.
She came back with what she came back with, the tears just started flowing.
Mm,
That's it.
mm, I love that. Okay, so the reason why I started this podcast is because I wanted people to really understand that they can write. That, you know, journals were big back in the day because journals were big back in the day. Diaries were big back in the day, right? And they prompted a lot of us to write, but a lot of us don't even realize how much that plays a role. in your writing journey.
Mhm.
And so what I want now is I want you to encourage that person that feels stuck, that person that says, I can't do this. That was where you were in your writing journey, that said, maybe I'm not good enough. Am I really an author? You know, that kind of thing. What would you tell them?
I would tell them to be,
Mm,
be, because you are capable, you are worthy, you are capable of becoming whoever you set your heart and your mind to become. I did not see myself as a writer, but I've written
mm,
before. Um, and so it's you really just allowing yourself to walk into the season that you're being called to walk into, even if it's with hesitation, even if it's with reservation, but reminding yourself of the power of I am, because you get to define who you are. And so you can become that author. And it can be as simple as you creating the affirmation that says, I am on the journey of becoming an author. Start there and then allow
yeah.
yourself to just be and to flow in it. And he's gonna release to you all the things that you need. I am living proof.
Mm, I love that. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much, Sonya, for sharing your words of wisdom, for being present, for um, allowing yourself to be vulnerable, to speak to those that needed to hear your words, that needed to be empowered by your words. I appreciate you and I thank you for saying yes to the call, for pushing through and getting it done, and being the voice that we need in this world.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And thank you for what you're doing and for you allowing people like myself and other authors to come into your space and share. So thank you.
You've been sitting on a book idea, a message, or a story that deserves to be shared with the world, but you're not sure where to start or how to finish strong. That's why I created the Author's Pathway Masterclass. Inside this masterclass, I walk aspiring authors through the strategy, structure, and mindset needed to complete their writing projects with clarity. Let's stop overthinking and finally start building your author journey. Join me inside the Author's Pathway Masterclass. Visit the link in the show notes to learn more and reserve your seat.
Thank you for spending this time with me on the Behind the Spine podcast. If today's episode spoke to you, take a moment to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your fellow writer who needs the encouragement. For more support, resources, and ways to work together, visit theintentionalauthor.com and connect with me on social. Remember, your story matters, your voice is needed, and your book deserves to be written. Until next time, stay intentional and keep writing.